stick around, come through and dig the sound of the fly brown 6060 cycle. Who throws hits around, bound to go through the Welcome to another exciting episode of Wine Down with Kev. Thank you, and thank you. Thank all of you who have taken time out of your busy day to tune in. So whether you're watching us on live stream on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, thank you. Extra special thanks to all of you that have already clicked the subscribe and the notification button so you find out when great content like this is released to YouTube or to podcast platforms everywhere. Thank you very much. Also, big shout out to my sponsors that you'll see transitioning in the background. Carol Media. If you're looking to take your social media game to the next level, talk to Carol Media. If you are looking to digitize your process for collecting information and working with more insureds, absolutely recommend Canopy Connect. Lastly, I cannot do it without my banking partners at Wintrust. But thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being on this journey with me to do 50 podcasts with 50 agents from 50 different states. Today, we get to travel to the wonderful state of New Hampshire, a state that I've driven through, been to many times. Wonderful scenery, very mountainous region. And not only do we go to New Hampshire today, we get to podcast with an amazing agent. She is an award-winning agent, been with the company over 20 years. She has won many, many awards, all the top awards that we offer, Leaders Forum, Honor Ring, National Summit, you name it, she's won it. But more than being a winner on the sales award side, she is a giver. She has given back to her community in 6 short years. Listen to this and listen to it closely. Over $100,000 in helping hand grants from the Allstate Foundation. So ladies and gentlemen, Wine Down with Kev community, let's give a warm Wine Down with Kev welcome to Crystal Lee Thompson from Concord, New Hampshire. Hey, Crystal, how are you?
Hi, Kevin. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Happy to see you. We were talking offline. You and I have not seen each other since Arizona of 2024. That time we were able to meet and wind down in person with a few friends and a few beverages. So good to see you here today. How is everything?
Things are going well. We are just plugging away, keeping busy. I just had the opportunity to go to South Carolina with some other agents to a meeting last week. I just got back from that and went over a few other marketing ideas and with my district and a few other districts. So I'm still kind of unraveling some information and trying to figure out what I want to touch base with my own team and get some more ideas and try to figure out where I'm going with that.
I love it. I love it. Ideas make the world go round, especially in this business. There's nothing like the importance of whenever we have the opportunity locally, regionally, or nationally to get together with our fellow agents. There's nothing like it in the world. So, Crystal, I usually like to start these off with something fun. And when I look at what you have going in New Hampshire, between the things you do for fun, the hiking, the camping, the swimming, the skiing, and being outdoors with your family, I don't know where to begin. So why don't we start just talking about how everything is with you and your family and take this opportunity to shout your family out.
Yeah, so I mean, fun might be a little strong for what I've been doing. My outside life, outside of insurance, it does pretty much revolve around my kids and the things I do with the community. Right now, I feel like I am, and probably very relatable for most parents, I feel like I'm a full-time chauffeur. My daughter, Emily, who's a ballerina and a horseback rider. My son, Ethan, who is been jamming out with his electric guitar. He just recently picked up a baritone sax this year. He does cross country and he landed his first job as a ski instructor at the local mountain. So a lot of my fun comes from cheering them on, whether it's at the dance studio, the slopes, band, or cross country practice. But outside of my mom duties, I love yoga. Like you mentioned, Bikram style is really my go-to. Though after that documentary came out, I'm kind of glad I never went to one of those retreats. I don't know about that. But I also love hiking, and I am in the White Mountain region. Thankfully, my son loves it too, so he quickly became my hiking buddy. And for those of you that aren't familiar with New Hampshire, I live about an hour away from the White Mountain region, which is part of the Appalachian Mountains. And there's a huge variety of hiking trails that range from easy, scenic walking trails to really challenging summits like Mount Washington, which is actually my favorite to hike. A cool fact about Mount Washington is it's known for having some of the most severe weather on the planet, actually, on the surface of Earth. It has recorded the highest winds in like ever recorded, 231 miles per hour.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. It is completely unpredictable. It has harsh weather conditions. Even experienced hikers, they have to be well prepared to hike up there because it does have sudden temperature shifts, the snow and the winds. But it's challenging, it's rewarding, and the view it's unparalleled to anything I've ever seen. And I haven't had the ability to travel very much. I've always wanted to, just never really got to. But a few years back, I had some company visiting from Ohio, and it was August, which is normally like hot and humid here in New Hampshire. It's kind of gross, actually. And we decided we were going to take the scenic railway, the cog train, right up the mountain. And it was like hot and gross and sticky down at the base of the mountain. By the time we got up there, the snow was coming down, the wind was whipping. It was 80 miles per hour at the summit. And when we were getting off the train, they were like doing a warning that like we needed to hold on to our kids. And
Yes.
I remember like my company, like we had our like our youngest children were like it was like a few years ago. So they were like small. My daughter's 10 now. I think she was maybe like 5 or 6 at the time. And I remember like holding on to her like a death grip. Because I was afraid she was going to blow away. It was so ridiculous, but like they were scared. But they thought it was
I'm scared
thrilling.
listening to the story. I'm both excited and frightened to death with this roller coaster ride you've taken us to at the top of Mount Washington.
Yeah.
Give us perspective. Take me into this scary movie, which I love and hate at the same time. Put a number to Mount Washington. How many feet above sea level are we right now?
So we were about 6,000 feet and like feet high. Elevation is top of Mount Washington is 6,288 feet elevation. And by the time we got up there, and we disembarked from the train, and it was just the second we stepped off that train, like our hair was like flying high, it's whipping in front of us. The kids were like all huddled together, holding on to each other for dear life. The older 2 kids are cracking up laughing. They think it's the funniest thing. And like it was just me and we're both single moms. We're like, what are we thinking? What were we thinking? But we had no idea what the weather was going to be. We thought we're going up for this beautiful view. They still talk about it to this day. You couldn't see anything. So, I mean, there was no view. It was so foggy. The snow was just coming from all directions. You couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
So
But it was
Crystal,
an adventure.
the social media junkie in me and in my listening audience and my viewing audience, they're all thinking the same thing. Were you able to capture any selfies while holding on to your kids with the death grip? Were you able to capture any selfies, any videos of this scary and memorable moment?
I do think that one of the boys tried to take a picture. We were like eating each other's hair. I don't think anybody's eyes were open. Maybe like one eye was open. We were making a face. I do think we have a photo kicking around somewhere. I'll have to try to pull that out at some point. But
Please.
we couldn't see anything. But they still talk about that adventure. It was memorable for sure. Um, but it was wild. It was wild. They loved it. And we've gone up a few times since then. Like we've hiked up and we now check what the summit weather is like before we hike. They do have an observatory at the top,
Nice.
and it monitors weather year round. That was the mistake we made when we took the train.
I
So
love it, Crystal. I
yeah.
think you've invited the whole digital community to New Hampshire, to the top of Mount Washington. And hey, DJ, what's up? I'm in the middle of recording the podcast.
I know, man.
No, yeah. So, yeah, this guy, we want to talk about something different. He's trying to get his website and his Google My Business page going.
Yeah, I know.
Well, everybody knows you helped me to get to the 2 Comma Club, but and be seen by a couple of million people. But this person wants to do something different. They're trying to run ads to their book of business, their model line campaigns and stuff like that.
I know, Kev.
Oh man, well, DJ, talk to the people, man, so I can get back to the podcast. How can you help?
Yeah, man. So listen, I can help you by running monoline ads to your auto, your home, as well as optimizing your website, your Google business profile, and your social media outlets. We can do the exact same thing we've done for Kevin over the years and get you in front of millions of sets of eyeballs to help you grow your business. Contact Carroll Media today. Kev, let them know.
DJ, I appreciate you jumping in the podcast. Hit up Carroll Media. DJ, I gotta go. I gotta get back to the podcast.
I know.
Pivot into insurance is very easy from here. When I hear you make references to 80 miles per hour wind, 230 miles per hour wind, I'm trying to tap into my insurance experience and put each speed of wind into that category of a hurricane. So I
Right.
know that that 80 miles per hour is around a Cat 1 or a Cat 2, and I know 231 is past a Cat 5. So knowing those numbers, knowing that what those numbers can do to your kids and homes, how important is it to you when you're hopefully selling insurance to people that are a little bit closer to sea level than 6,288 feet above sea level? How important is it as a local agent making sure people have a real clear understanding of the importance of a local agent and the types of coverages that you emphasize when buying a policy from you?
Yeah, I mean, we always try to talk about like the fact that there are 4 seasons here in New Hampshire. We get we get all the weather here, especially nor'easters. It brings heavy snow, strong winds, leads to power outages, frozen pipes, roof damage from ice storms. Like the ice storms is probably the harshest part of the winters here because generally it's unexpected. When it happens quick, and it's cold. It basically leaves everybody powerless. You can't do anything. There's no power, and you can't get anywhere. The roads are closed, and people oftentimes assume that insurance covers everything. But the truth is, most people don't realize that insurance doesn't include sewer backup. So if your pipes freeze or burst and your sump pump fails or stops working and you don't add that, or your insurance agent didn't talk about that, it's not going to be covered. Or the melting snow from outside. Let's say we got dumped on and we've got 2 or 3 feet outside, and now we're having a warm day like today. It's 60 degrees out, but 2 days ago it was 30 degrees out. And your pipes burst, and you're having excessive snow melting, or the opposite, and the excessive the excessive cold temps and the pipes burst. You got to make sure you have somebody that's knowledgeable, that's giving you the option to add that coverage, not just calling an 800 number that's just trying to sell a policy and giving you basic bare bone insurance. We don't just sell a policy here. We make sure you understand what's covered. We make sure that you're prepared ahead of time, that you understand the risks associated with the exposures in New Hampshire. We get an awful lot of people that are relocating here from other states. Like, oftentimes I wonder why. Like, we get people coming here from California, and I'm like, why? Like, I can't tell you how many times I got people moving here, like in the dead of the winter when it's below freezing outside. And they're like, oh, we just moved here from California. We're moving from, some place that's very warm that I wish I was at that moment. And I'm just scratching my head like, why? Okay, let me help you. Have you ever dealt with snow before? And they're like, no, we've never seen. We're so excited. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, we want to make sure that people understand that they know what is covered ahead of time, and they can prepare ahead of time. And speaking of things that people forget that are covered, car insurance, it's not mandatory in New Hampshire. Wild, right? Have you ever heard that?
Let's take a pause right there. Hey, Ray, it's Kevin. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Nothing, man. You guys have been helping me out for a while with all the digital things you can do at Use Canopy, but some of my guys, they're still having a hard time adjusting to the digital age. Talk to the people, Ray, please.
Yes, sir. Well, Canopy Connect is the insurance data intake platform. Send a link out to your prospect. They, click on it, find their insurance carrier. We got like 350 insurance carriers on there. Click that, sign in, and they can be done there. You can ask them a few more questions you want, but we're going to pull all that insurance information, give it to you right in a nice dashboard.
That sounds pretty quick. What are we talking? 2 or 3 minutes?
Less. You can do that in 30 seconds, man.
Wow. Nick, you're a big time marketing guy. What do you think?
I think Canopy Connect is one of those tools that everybody should have in their back pocket. Makes it easy to use. You can send it out in emails and text messages. You can use it in social media campaigns, X-Date campaigns. All of those methods will work with Canopy Connect.
Guys, I got to get back to the podcast, but you heard it right here. Use Canopy Connect. Go digital. Leave old school in the past. Nick and Ray, I'll catch you guys later. Easy.
Let's go. See ya.
I know that auto insurance is mandatory in 48 out of 50 states. I always forget the 2 that it's not required. So let's definitely do a deep dive there. What does optional car insurance mean? I like to say that car insurance helps us to keep the peace, especially here in New York. So in New York, if you and I are in a fender bender, we don't have to yell at each other or use ungodly language. We exchange insurance information and it's settled peacefully. How does that work with insurance not being mandatory in New Hampshire?
I have to tell you, sometimes it is a literal nightmare. It is not mandatory in New Hampshire, and I believe Virginia is the other state.
Yes.
But people can literally drive around uninsured. They can have accidents left and right, which definitely adds a little bit of extra stress to my day when claims come in. But also a unique tidbit. New Hampshire's motto is live free or die. Live free or die. I guess people really take that to heart, right? It actually says it on the license plate.
Yes.
I find that ironic. So the DMV website specifically says that while you are not required by law to carry car insurance, you are required to be financially solvent, meaning you have to be able to financially cover an accident. If you have one, you have to be able to repair any damage you cause, whether it's property damage to someone's fence or their home or their vehicle, or any injury that you cause. But generally what we find is that people it doesn't matter who, you get people that just can't afford it, or people that just choose not to cover it, or somebody that's not working and they just don't want to have it. And you really don't get penalized unless you get caught. You can register a car without proving you don't have insurance. You just go register it. If you're the owner, you just go register it. It's no big deal. They'll register your car. But if you get in an accident and they find out and can prove that you had this accident, then the state will suspend your license. They'll catch up with you eventually if they catch you. Now, if you get involved in a hit and run accident, that takes a little bit longer. They will eventually catch up with you. And there's cameras everywhere. The light posts have them, going through a red light. Like there's ways. Lots of people have, the ring systems, and there's ways to find people that are causing accidents or having hit and run accidents now. And they will find you. But what happens once you have a hit and run accident is the state will suspend your license, and it's not worth it, because once your license is suspended, there is a very huge penalty to restore your license back. You not only have to pay a fine to the state, but you also have to cover any liability and any financial damage that you caused. And chances 9 out of 10 times, you're going to end up getting sued. I mean, we live in a litigious society. Everybody is suing all the time. And if you cause enough damage, and let's say you own a home and you don't have car insurance, like that just doesn't even make sense. Like, somebody's going to put a lien against your house. Is that really worth it?
Right.
Like, you could potentially lose your house. So that adds an extra challenge for me. Like, I have to explain to people that own a home the importance of having car insurance, so that, God forbid, they or their children have an accident, that they can't get a lien against their house or sued for their home and lose their house. So honestly, it's an easy conversation at this point, just because I've been doing it for so long. But at the same time, for the people that just don't want to pay the premium to have the car insurance, that, can always be challenging. But the cost to get the license restored and pay the fines, once your license is restored, you actually have to insure your license through the state for a 3 to 5 year period. They tell you how long you have to insure it for. And it's a certificate of financial responsibility, similar to someone that has gotten a DUI or a DWI for drunk driving. And that is so expensive. And then once you add that on to the insurance, and now it's mandatory by the insurance company, it can cost you 3 or 4 times more on insurance pricing than it would have otherwise had you just carried basic liability.
If you had done the right thing in the beginning. Crystal, you're developing a pattern here of giving me really rich answers that there's so much to dive into. I think about the implications of being required to have insurance. I think about the average person not having, being able to live beyond 2 paychecks, God forbid, if something tragic were to happen. I think about the ability to replace a fence. Yes, maybe people can afford to replace a fence. Maybe that's $1,000, but that's where the buck stops. The average American, state by state, is not sitting on 30 to 50 grand to buy you a new car. Definitely one thing I've said repeatedly, and you can expand upon it, is most people, maybe excluding the wealthiest 1% in the country, most people don't have the cash to pay their own medical bills. I certainly can't take on the responsibility of anyone else's medical bills. And that's before we get to the lawsuit. So knowing all of those things as the backstory, do most people follow your recommendations that they should get car insurance so that you can share the risk with them as an insurance company for X amount of dollars per month? It's better that you transfer that risk to us. So God forbid, if any things that can go wrong, especially in a beautiful state like New Hampshire with so much such a diverse landscape. Sidebar about me, I spent 2 summers in the Massachusetts, New Hampshire area going to summer boarding school to prepare for college. So I've seen those live free or die license plates,
Yeah.
and it sounds really cool until we're in a fender bender. So how hard is it to convince people, or do the majority of people, being a highly educated state, the majority of people, do they see the wisdom in spending a couple of $100 per month for insurance to protect the small money, to make sure they're protecting the big assets? Do most people comply, or is there a resistance community that just says, I'm not going to do it, and come get me if you catch me?
I would say usually the clientele that I work with, the majority of them are homeowners. So they normally, I'd say 95% of them generally carry car insurance, if
Nice.
not a little bit more. But there is a percentage of people driving around without car insurance, like a good percentage of people driving around without car insurance in New Hampshire, which I think will always baffle my mind, because by law, you can't drive into any of the bordering states without car insurance. So I
Yes.
don't know, like, I mean, it's very restrictive. You can't go into Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts. You can't go into any of these bordering states without car insurance, because as an operator of a vehicle, you have to follow the state guidelines in any state you're driving into. So that, I think, is just crazy to me. It's prohibitive. Like, you can't go into any of those states without car insurance. Just because you're from New Hampshire and you don't have to have car insurance in New Hampshire, driving into other states, you still have to follow their state laws.
And I would say, so for New England Patriot fans out there, New Hampshire is considered to be a part of the New England states.
Mhm.
You mentioned them. It's Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont. So those states are so geographically close to each other. In a day, you can, circle some of that interstate area.
Yeah.
So agents in surrounding states, viewers in surrounding states, you want to make sure you have the right coverage. And when you said the story about registering a car without insurance, I can picture a few New Hampshire license plates down here in the New York State area where people wrongfully, not telling on anybody, not calling names, but I remember who has those New Hampshire plates. They're riding around, which makes our uninsured motorist coverage much more
Yes.
important to protect against some of those hazards. So my God, Crystal, you absolutely crushed it there with the value of the local agent and with the challenges. I assure you that every agent watching, listening to this podcast, most of us are unaware that insurance is not mandatory there. So we feel for you, but we're also impressed with your knowledge to navigate these waters. So let's delve into your backstory a little bit. I looked at your bio on your Allstate website.
Yep.
You've been in the business since 2003, which, side note, you look way too young to have done that, so that's
Thank you.
questionable. I'll let the fact checkers out there see if the math is mathing, if that makes sense. But you didn't open your own agency until 2019. So
Yep.
talk about your journey from how you started and what it's been like since you opened your agency in 2019, a few months before the pandemic.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I actually got into insurance completely by accident. Literally by accident. I wanted to go to one of those yoga retreats, the Bikram ones that I'm glad I
Yes.
didn't go to after I recently saw the documentary. So anyway, I was in high school, and you mentioned I look a little too young here. I was in high school, and my parents actually had a horrific motorcycle accident on their way to Laconia Bike Week when I was a teenager, which is a really popular thing. People come from all over the country to attend the Bike Week. So at that time, I had been planning to go to Bentley or Boston College, but with everything going on, the hospital bills, financial struggles, I didn't really have a home address, and I couldn't qualify for financial aid. You need your parents' tax returns in order to complete the financial aid form for college. It's called a FAFSA form.
Yes.
And back then, they didn't have an exception to that. They didn't have an exception if you lived on your own, or if your parents were in a hospital, or if you had any extenuating circumstances. There was no exceptions. I don't know if there are now, or if things are different now. I mean, it's so long ago. But I did end up at, it used to be New Hampshire College. It is now Southern New Hampshire University. When I started going there, it wasn't at that time the world's largest online school like it is
Yes.
now. But I started commuting just to save some money. And I went to the college board because I was told I needed to have an internship. And I couldn't take time out of my day to go work for somebody for free. So somebody told me to go to the career board, to the career office, and look at the, the board to see what they had. Because you could get college credit for, maybe doing something easy, and that wasn't too time consuming. When I went in there, they had one job on the career board that actually paid you to do it. And guess what? It was an Allstate job. It was the only paid internship available. So I applied. They hired me and they paid me to get licensed. But at the same time, I was working at the Strange Brew Tavern in Manchester, New Hampshire. I was waiting tables, doing whatever I could to make ends meet. And I started to bartend when I got a little older, because I wasn't old enough when I first started working there. And my boss, Mitch, he was friends with my parents, knew my situation, and I will be forever grateful to Mitch. He always made sure that I never left hungry. They'd make special food for me because I was a picky teenager. And, they'd send me home with like lunch for school the next day. And he would like let me go sit like upstairs and finish my homework before my shift started. And he was just really, really, I'm very grateful. He was really understanding. But anyway, fast forward, I did end up working my way up. I became a licensed sales producer after my 1-year internship was up. And then I became an office manager, which I did for a really long time. I was managing an office in Manchester, New Hampshire, and then this office that I now own, which I bought right before COVID, 6 months before COVID. So that was a little scary, buying an office, and then I had staff that just like came in, and one day when COVID, like right when COVID started, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're really uncomfortable coming into the office, and I think we're just not going to work anymore." And I'm like, okay, like I was new at this, being a boss, like the
Right.
remote thing like wasn't really a thing yet, and like they were still new. I was still new. I didn't really know how to transition to the whole remote thing. My kids were going remote for school. So here I am juggling life, trying to figure out how to run this new business as a boss,
Yes.
and trying to figure out how to homeschool my kids.
Yes.
I was not cut out to be a teacher. Teachers out there, like if there are any teachers
God bless them.
listening, like, yes, God bless
God
you.
bless them.
I don't have the patience for that. My daughter, she was starting kindergarten, and she didn't know how to, like, she could read a little bit, but not really very good. And like they wanted me to put her in front of a computer all day. Like,
No.
I don't know
No.
what they were thinking.
Yes.
So that was a disaster. And then I had a he was like third grade, fourth grade, my son at the time, and he couldn't sit still to save his life. He couldn't focus, and it was so busy here with people that were like, "I'm not working, I'm not driving. Is there any way to save money on my bills?" Like car insurance was not mandatory, so we were losing car insurance like left and right. Um, it was it was interesting. I had so many clients that were like they were struggling, and
Yeah.
at some point we just started going around to local businesses like gas stations, restaurants that were struggling, and started to pick up like out of our own pocket. We started picking up gift cards, and just people that were calling that were struggling, and we knew that they were struggling. we would just start sending like gift cards for like groceries and gas and things like that to our customers that we knew needed help. So that's kind of what kind of got me started focused. Like I've always been customer and community service oriented. But that's kind of really what brought me into like the Concord like community with my fellow businesses. I'm on a very busy main street. I'm walking distance to the Capitol. And there's a lot of fantastic small mom and pop businesses on this main strip, which you don't really see very much anymore. Like there's
No.
just a lot of corporate, like cookie cutter franchises that are taking over. But there's a lot of mom and pop stuff here. But my primary focus with my agency is I try to focus on running a business that prioritizes ethics in an industry where it's not really always the norm. And we really focus on ethics, customer service, and community service. And I try to get my staff to do that too.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to jump in here. You talked about people may look at you today. They may look at your agency 6 years in. They may see you winning trips and posting fun things, and they may think that you're an overnight success. But listening to you tell your phenomenal backstory, I lean into the pain point post your parents' accident. And if I heard correctly, there was a period that you didn't have an address. Fast forward, you have a heart for people that are going through difficult things. How important do you think the pain that you felt, how do you think that shaped you into the person you are today that's dedicated both your time and your resources to give back over $100,000 to the community where you work and live and serve those people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not an overnight success, Kevin. I put in years of hard work, dedication, community involvement. The Friendly Kitchen is down the street from me. We've done a lot with them. Families in Transition and the Boys and Girls Club. We host a lot of education events, not only just for realtors, but, you know, for our clients, and sponsoring the community, you know, just community service initiatives all over, as well as, you know, mentoring other women in the industry. And, you know, my success has been earned from step to step. I've built the relationships that I have. I've invested in my team, and I have maintained my ethical standards in all the practices that I do in an industry, like I said, where it's not always the norm, and I see it on a day-to-day basis. The achievements that I've gotten, like honoring and elite status, they weren't handed to me. They're a result of consistency, showing up, providing value, going over and above for not just my clients, but also for the community. It is just something that I aim to do every single day when I come into the office. And going through some of the hard times that I went through as a teenager, that community outreach is just near and dear to my heart. And I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it is like to put in the work. And you know, being a single parent and trying to balance and juggle and figure out how I'm gonna, you know, make sure that I have food on the table for the kids and that I'm also present for the kids. That's what keeps me going every day. They are my priority, and I want to be able to show them that I am somebody that is always going to be there for them. You know, they don't have a nanny. I leave early on Wednesdays so that I can pick my daughter up for her dance class, and I drive her and we talk about her day, and I drive my son. I leave my own job to pick my son up for his first job. And, you know, I come back to work, but, you know, I take that 40 minutes and you know, it's important to him, and I let him know that it's important to me too, and how proud of him I am that at 14 years old, he's hustling. And his mom did it too. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't want him to work too
I,
hard. But he's also not having anything handed to him either. He's gonna earn it.
I, I love it. That answer. First off, you're phenomenal. I think you're a phenomenal example for agents and business people and single moms and everyone that's in the struggle. I just said to someone a little bit earlier, this opportunity that we have is amazing, but the struggle is real. No one gives us anything, and you've given the best example. And the recognition of your hard work. I saw it in my search and reviewing agents that I invite to the podcast. I always look at the website. I always look at the reviews, the Google reviews, and you have one of the most, if not the most, favorable Google reviews of anybody that I've seen. You have 824 positive reviews that all are
Do you
saying amazing
really?
things about you. Yes,
Oh
and
wow. I had
you're
no
you're
clue.
yes, with a very high rating, and your Google reviews are equally amazing. So I look at agents and I prep for the podcast the way that customers do. I look online, I see who you are. And if I were in Concord, New Hampshire, the capital, looking for an insurance agent, and I saw someone with your reviews, with your give back to the community, it's a no-brainer that I would choose you. And I would imagine that a lot of the community of New Hampshire is thinking exactly the way that I do about you, because not only is it dominant and apparent on your website and on your Google page, I also came across a phenomenal article that was written about you. I didn't do a good job as a journalist listing my source, but I believe you were written up as one of the top 40 under 40 in the area, and they ask you these questions. You gave phenomenal answers. You're like a representative for the state of New Hampshire, with reasons to move there, your volunteer activities, your major achievements. I was really blown away by what you've done. So how much do you recall about the article, and any statement you'd like to say about what I've said about the it seems like I surprised you with your Google reviews.
Yeah, I didn't realize we had so many. I do remember the 40 under 40. I got that a couple years ago. I was very surprised that I was nominated for the award. And actually, I just found out a couple weeks ago that the Better Business Bureau just nominated me for the Torch Award in Ethics. Just 2 weeks ago, I
Yes.
found out. So I will know on April 10th if I earn that award. But for the 40 under 40, it's a very elite award that the state of New Hampshire gives out, and they really it's reserved for people that they consider to be pillars in the community. They really put it they put it aside for people that are leaders in their industry, people that are making a difference in their industry, and people that are making a difference in their community. They do a lot of research on the backgrounds. They reach out to people that you're partnering with, community members. You have to be referred by 3 or 4 different community members for that award. The Boys and Girls Club of Manchester recommended me for the award, and the Concord Chamber of Commerce also had recommended me for that award. And ultimately, that is how I had earned it. And I was beyond honored for that. But really, it really hit home for me. It really just shows me that success isn't just about what you can achieve. It's really about how you help others achieve their best too, not just in business but in life. I've always been passionate about helping other people, other women in the industry. Lifting other people up. There's so many people that try to put you down, especially when you start doing well. You mentioned earlier about, there's people out there that think, oh, it was an overnight success. It's not. It's a lot of hard work. I didn't just wake up one day and all of a sudden, I'm a business owner and I'm doing great. I have been putting in my blood, sweat, tears, lots of late nights, hard work, lots of tears. It's been a labor of love, but I do it while I'm lifting other agents up and mentoring other agents, and I'm trying to do it and lead with integrity. So it does bother me when I see other agents that are cutting corners or acting unethically. But when we can do the right thing, I think it's important to set an example so that others can follow. And I think that's how we're all going to be able to rise together and do good for the community and for each other.
Well, I want to take the liberty. I have no knowledge of this until 2 seconds ago when you said it. I can't imagine there's a better candidate for the Torch Award for Ethics, because you've mentioned the word ethics throughout this podcast. So I want to, without jinxing you, I want to congratulate you in advance. And no matter what the outcome is, my perspective, and I think I've earned the right to offer an opinion. Everything you've shared on this podcast has been invaluable. It's been different. It's been truly representative of the best of what we do in this business. So we're circling the airport. We're getting ready to land a plane. Couple of last questions. Let's talk about the workforce a little bit. How hard is it to get your journey from intern to licensed sales producer to office manager to agency owner? How hard is it to get a license in the state of New Hampshire to get started in the insurance industry? Are there a lot of hurdles to overcome, or is it a couple of weeks of class and a couple of $100s?
Yeah, so it's not as bad as you would think, which is why I'm surprised that there are so many agencies that are short-staffed. So if there's anybody out there in New Hampshire that's looking for a job, we are hiring, but the process is pretty easy. I know it varies state to state, but generally, especially just here in New Hampshire, you take a pre-licensing course through like Kaplan or ExamFX. You pass a state exam. The pre-licensing course generally takes about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how much time and effort you put into it. I'd say it's about like 40 hours of studying. And then you take the state test. It's not too difficult of an exam. And then you go through a background check. They want to make sure that you have good ethics too, and you didn't commit a felony. And then when I got started, Allstate actually paid for me to get licensed, which was a game changer. I was broke. I didn't have an address. So if you know anybody that is looking to get into the industry, I always recommend checking with local agencies. Like me, I'm sure there's many out there that will invest in training and licensing the right person. And like I said, I'm always hiring. So if you know anybody motivated with high ethics, have them hit me up.
I love it. I love it. And if you didn't hear her say it, ethics are important to work in Crystal's agency. Crystal, you mentioned that you're on a main street. How important is your digital presence? How do people find you? I imagine you're a pillar in the community. You're everywhere. You're helping, you're networking, Chamber of Commerce, parents, teachers, organizations. But how important is your digital presence as it relates to social media and other platforms and helping people find you to do business with you?
Yeah, so being on Main Street, I do get a lot of walk-ins, but most of my clients find my agency through referrals and community involvement. So digital presence is pretty important for us. People want to work with someone they trust, and a lot of that trust comes from word of mouth and being active in the community. So we build our relationships, with our clients, with our community, with real estate professionals, mortgage lenders. A huge part of my business is by building relationships specifically with our local mortgage lenders and real estate professionals and past clients who've referred their friends and family. But there's a reason for that. Like I've said multiple times before, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We refuse to cut corners just to get a sale. I see oftentimes policies written with bare minimum coverage, leaving homeowners with massive gaps that they don't realize until, something goes wrong. That doesn't happen with us. It won't happen with us. And with New Hampshire's live free or die motto, we definitely have some interesting situations with, when we deal with people that don't have car insurance and how that affects homeowners insurance. The digital presence here, I think, is very important. And we do try to keep insurance light, fun, and engaging. But also we think it's important to have that educational background too. We have, the homes that are on the coast. So there's a need for checking to see if it's in a floodplain and they need flood insurance, because you don't want them to get stuck at a closing and then all of a sudden find out that, hey, flood insurance is mandatory and then their closing can't go through. Or you have, the older homes. I mean, it's New England. There's old farmhouses everywhere. Yes. This is not an area where you have new construction popping up. It's just, it's not like that here.
When you think of New England, just to give the rest of the country a perspective, you have to think of the origins of America. You have to think of where the freedom fight and where the Constitution, where it all started. That's where the construction of these homes began. But that's a whole nother technical conversation that we'll save for a second podcast. Crystal, last question. You have given everyone a fantastic feel for your insurance expertise, for live free or die, and why you hold yourself to a higher standard. But I always like to end, and what a great mom you are, a dance mom, a music mom, active, hiking and hanging out, kicking it mom. But I always like to end my podcast with this. How do you wind down at the end of the day? The last policy's written, the last one service, the kids are done with their activities. How does Crystal wind down at the end of the day? How do you decompress and get away from it all?
I would love to tell you that I am able to wind down at the end of the day. Truth be told, I feel like I am running a mile a minute and on very little sleep. I do like to read. I'm currently obsessed with a book series that one of my friends told me just got turned into a TV show. I'll get around to watching it eventually, but I'd like to finish the book series first. It's called Sweet Magnolias, not to be confused with Steel Magnolias. But a friend recommended it to me, and I am on the last book of the series. Just about finished, and I think I'm going to try to catch the show. I don't watch a whole lot of TV, so, but yeah.
So, truth be told, you're not winding down with TV, but you are turning the pages of a book, not Audible, not on a Kindle. No. How many books in this series? Sweet Magnolias, my first hearing about this book.
Yeah, so there's 3 in this particular series, but I do love to read. I am an avid reader. I am lucky enough to live across the street from a library in my town. So that has been wonderful. I went through a divorce last year, and between my love-hate relationship with some household projects that I never intended to want or need to have to do, that I've been having to deal with, and trying to find some stuff to keep me occupied, reading has become even more of an obsession for me than, the light reading I had always been doing. But yeah, this series has been great. I've read several other series. The Handmaids, that was great. The Women was really wonderful. I would highly recommend that if there's anybody out there that likes to read, that one was fantastic. But the Sweet Magnolias, it's a chick book. It's been good though.
Crystal, you have been an amazing guest. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrapped up? Anything business, personal, anything you want to share on this platform? Anything that you wish I would have asked that I could have and should have asked you about that you didn't get a chance to elaborate on?
No, I think it's really wonderful to have these types of podcasts. I didn't even know that you were doing a podcast. Shame on me. I see a lot of other ways to get insurance knowledge out there. So this was definitely a new one for me, which I think is great because going for walks, stuff like that, just pop it in, listen to it. I thought that was great. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast. I had a great time talking about the industry, sharing some insights that I had, and discussing what I think it takes to build a strong and ethical, community-focused insurance business. But I'm always looking forward to connect with other agents that are like-minded and learn and see what's working well for other people. But I'm always looking forward, connecting outside of the regular business day, to see what other people are doing too. So I thought that was really great, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've been absolutely a phenomenal guest. You shared a ton of jewels that many people watching us live right now, watching it on social media later today, or watching it months down the road when it's released in its final form. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, and thank you. Thank you, everyone that tuned in, that watched us on live stream today, Instagram, Facebook family, YouTube family. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content today with Crystal Lee Thompson, Concord, New Hampshire, please click on the like and subscribe button below so you can be notified when it is released. Big thank you to my sponsors, Canopy Connect, all things digital to bring your agency into the future, Carol Media, all things social media to take your social media game to the next level, and my financial partners at Wintrust Bank. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And one more time, a very warm Wine Down with Kev round of applause for this amazing trip that we took 6,000 feet into the air to the top of Mount Washington with New Hampshire's own Crystal Lee Thompson.